following list contains some of the most horrifying torture methods ever devised. Number 10 is the least dangerous, while number 1 guarantees a slow, agonizing death. Number 10. Exploitation of fears and phobias. You wouldn't necessarily walk away with any physical injuries after undergoing this type of torture, but the psychological stress would be very real and wouldn't be forgotten anytime soon. Imagine if you had a fear of snakes, a very common phobia, and someone forced you to do this at gunpoint. Number 9. White torture. This is a modern method, developed only recently. You could call it a form of solitary confinement taken to the extreme. Its aim is to mentally unhinge the victim through sensory deprivation. The captive would be kept in an empty windowless cell painted white. He or she would be dressed in entirely white clothing, only be fed white rice and milk, and would receive a single white piece of paper which he or she would slip under the door to signal that they wanted to go to the bathroom. Even the guards outside the cell door would wear padded shoes, so no sound whatsoever, not even footsteps could be heard. People who endured months under these conditions say that it makes you lose your sense of self, and the faces of your loved ones become difficult, if not impossible, to recall. Number 8. Denailing. Used in medieval times as a method of interrogation, denailing is agonizingly painful and can of course take a long time to perform in full, since we all have a total of 20 fingernails and toenails, and any torture would make sure that the extraction process happened as slowly as possible. The torturer would then proceed to pull out each nail using pliers usually heated red hot in order to cause burning damage and inflict further pain. Another extraction method used in Spain involved hammering a wooden wedge under the nail until it was torn free. Number 7. The testicle crusher. This one is popular among prison inmates. It is usually performed using forceps or a hammer. If you had a cellmate that you really hated, you would get 2 of your other cellmate buddies to restrain the unfortunate victim, and then... well, you get the point. Number 6. The pear of anguish. This one was popular with the Spanish Inquisition and involved inserting this device operated by a crank into any orifice in the human body, usually into the mouth for liars, the anus for homosexuals, and the vagina for lesbians and cheating wives. The crank was then turned and expanded the orifice until ruptures and tissue tears occurred in the case of the vagina and anus. In the case of the mouth, the torture usually wouldn't stop until the jaw was broken and the person left disfigured for life. Death was rare when using this method, but it could happen due to infection of the gaping wounds, which were a common consequence. Number 5. Rat torture. You only need 4 things for this one: some rope, hot coals, a bucket, and at least 1 rat. The victim of this torture would be tied up. The bucket containing the rat would be placed on his or her abdomen, and then the hot coal would be placed on top of the bucket, eventually making the temperature inside it unbearable for the poor rat, who would then have absolutely no problem digging his way out of captivity through your abdomen. This of course would cause irreversible organ damage, and the poor victim would die soon afterwards. Number 4. Getting sawed in half. Many of history's greatest monsters claimed to have invented this sadistic procedure, but the credit, without any doubt, must go to Gaius Caligula, the 3rd Roman emperor. He was the first to figure out that the excessive amounts of blood in a person's head would keep that person from fainting even when subjected to the most severe kind of bodily trauma. It wouldn't always work, because the fear of dying this way would cause some people to faint even before the torture began. Most people would die well before the sawing was completed, but we also know that some victims remained conscious even as the saw started cutting into their sternum. Number 3. The Brazen Bull. This one is especially morbid, because it combined execution with public entertainment. A hollow bronze bull would be fitted with a hatch on one side. The person condemned to die would then be forced into the bull. A fire would be lit underneath it, and the person inside would be slowly roasted or in some cases boiled. The crowd-entertaining component of this pain-inflicting monstrosity consisted of a special pipe, which licked the compartment where the victim was dying to the bull's mouth. It would transform the victim's dying screams to a sound similar to a raging bull getting ready to charge. The bull was introduced by Phalaris, the tyrannical ruler of an ancient Greek city called Acrogas. Phalaris was eventually overthrown and ironically died in the same brazen bull he himself used to incinerate countless people. Number 2. The head crusher. First used in the 16th century, it was used primarily as an interrogation device. It was the favorite torture method of German Renaissance dukes, who would use it to extract information from hardened criminals. It featured a steel plate which sat beneath the victim's jaw, immobilizing it. A metal cap operated by a handle which, when turned, would press the cranium downwards, compressing the whole head, destroying facial muscle tissue, breaking the jaw, and lastly, crushing the cranium and the brain within. The pressure exerted by this device was so great that it could literally make your eyeballs jump out of their sockets. Some very sick torturers even added a receptacle to the machine to collect the ejected eyeballs. Number 1. Getting hanged, drawn, and quartered. This gruesome punishment, which always ended with the victim dying after hours, and in some cases days of agonizing pain, was most commonly used in medieval England to punish those convicted of treason against the crown. This is not exactly one method of torture. It's an extremely cruel combination of several torture and execution methods. The victim would be dragged to the execution site and then hanged nearly to the point of death, usually being taken down from the gallows seconds before suffocating. After that, the victim's flesh would be ripped from his chest, arms, thighs, and calves. Molten lead would then be poured into the resulting wounds. Sometimes the person in this condition would be confined to a cell to await the final and most gruesome part of the procedure the following day. The final step, which always concludes this bloody spectacle, requires the executioners to tie all 4 limbs to 4 different horses, which would then start pulling the victim in 4 separate directions. In most cases, this strain on the human body would be sufficient to rip the limbs off, leaving the poor victim with only the head and torso. Death from huge blood loss would then result in mere seconds. If you for some reason took morbid pleasure in watching this video, please share it with your friends and subscribe for more.